Hello there, welcome back. I want to talk about a question that probably is one of the very most common questions you get as a beginner. A beginning knife sharpener will begin to sharpen something, and they'll sharpen and sharpen and sharpen, and it'll seem like the edge is not getting sharp. They'll sharpen for a long time, and the edge is not improving. And invariably they will go, is my stone any good? Do I have the right stone? Is my stone bad? Do I need a more expensive stone? Somewhere along those lines, that will always come up. In your mind, in the back of your mind, you're going, I'm sharpening on this thing. Or maybe it's just not coarse enough. Maybe it's just not the right kind of stone. Maybe, So to kind of address this, what I've done is I looked for the cheapest stone that I could find. And around here we have a store called the Dollar Tree. Okay? It's a true dollar store, and what I mean by that is we have Family Dollar and Dollar General Store, and those are the stores that everybody calls the dollar store. But most of the stuff that they have in those dollar stores costs way more than $1. Okay, the Dollar Tree is a store where everything in that store, it costs at maximum $1. Sometimes some of them cost less than that. Sometimes I can get things like spices and stuff there, 2 for $1. Okay, so everything there costs $1. Okay, so they have this. For $1. If there's a cheaper stone out there, I would hate to see it. If this stone, this cheaply made stone, will sharpen a knife, then any stone you pick up is probably going to be fine. So let's look at this stone. And let's sharpen a knife, or attempt to sharpen a knife on this stone. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up the package. Excuse me. Now I have a sink full of water. You'll see why in a minute. So I'm going to open it up. And one of the things that you should know about a sharpening stone is it needs to be reasonably flat. Now, there are guys out there that, think you need a precision machine shop tolerances, or you need an electron microscope, or whatever, that your stone has to be absolutely dead flat in a way that is way beyond what you need for honing or sharpening knives. So what I do to check for flatness is I have a diamond plate. I use this edge of my diamond plate to check for flatness. And I don't know, let's raise this up a bit. I don't know if you can see, but it's very slightly dipped in the center. So, and when I hold it up to the light like this, this side goes like this, and this side goes like that. So you have a man-made stone and it's got a bow or warp in it. And that's common, even with more expensive stone. So, but that's probably flat enough to sharpen with. Now, if you read the instructions on this, it says, make the sharpening stone completely wet, evenly pull the blade back and forth for about 1 minute with about a 20-degree angle on the blue surface. Grind the blade in the shape you need. Continue to refine the blade on the gray surface. Wash the sharpening stone with clean water, dry it, and keep it properly. Now, so this is supposed to be a combination stone. This is supposed to be a coarse side, and this is supposed to be a fine side. And indeed, when I rub my hand across the surface, I can tell a significant difference in the coarseness of the stone. So what I'm going to do, it says keep this stone completely wet. Well, with what? A lot of people would call this an oil stone. It's just probably silicon or aluminum oxide in some kind of binder. Water stones are aluminum oxide, so are man-made oil stones. The binder is what makes the difference. But this stone, I guarantee you, is porous enough that you could do either one with it, whatever you want. And since I like dish soap and water as a lubricant, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this. You hear that hissing? You see those bubbles? That's all the air pockets because the stone is so porous. Now the stone is filling up with water. So we're going to set this stone in this water until that stops. Okay, it's set in the water till it stopped making all that hissing noise. And what I'm going to do, I have 60 grit sandpaper here. This is 3M Sandblaster Pro. This is good quality sandpaper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to flatten this stone. If it doesn't flatten, then I'll hone with hash marks. I don't care. But I'm going to attempt to. I've got this on the counter. You'll have to forgive the sound. But now, all the hash marks are gone. When I look at this, excuse me, I'm going to hold it up to the light now. That's as flat as the edge of this diamond plate can read. I could probably flatten that with that diamond plate, but I'm going to save my diamond plate and not wear it out. Now we're going to flatten the other side. I'm going to rinse this off because I don't want that grit contaminating this side. And you see, it was humped in the center and it's disappearing further in the center. Now the reason I'm doing this is because I want flat. And the thing of it is, it was probably flat enough, but I thought that I would try and see how flat this was because, and now I'm going to check it. Or not how flat it was, but I thought that I would see how easy it might be to lap because we can be ahead of the game if we can lap this. Now, one of the other things that I'm going to do with this stone See how I'm moving the edge? What I want to do is I want to break that really hard, sharp corner. It doesn't have to be much, but I want to relieve that and round it. You see, I don't know if you can see the difference between that and that. But put some more water on it. Now the other side, and that is very easily abraded. That was more of a rounding than I wanted on that. So on this side I won't do it as much. And then what you can do is round the corners a bit so that the stone doesn't chip. A lot of guys will round these corners. I don't bother. My blade is never going to hit them. And I'm going to rinse it off in the sink. That stone is now prepped, but now watch. You see that water? I don't know if you can see it, but I just put all the water I can on it. You see how quick that water's disappearing? Okay, so this is still needs to soak some more. It really does. All the air pockets in the stone have stopped, for lack of a better term, hissing at us. But I really do want to, and I'm going to drain this sink and put fresh, clean water in it. I really do want to give the stone time to soak up as much water as it can. So right now I'm in between cooking supper anyway. So I'll be back after we eat and all that. So I'll be back in an hour and a half. Alright. This is a Schrade. $950T, I think is what that says. This knife is you see it started to cut there, but it really doesn't want to cut. Alright, so that we've established that we have an incredibly crappy edge on this stone, and that was used to be an ant. This stone is very porous. It's still soaking up water when you see how that water almost immediately disappears. One of two things is going on. The way that it lapped, how easy it lapped, is part of it too. Either there are very little grit particles in this stone and a ton of binder, which is probably the case, or the binder that's used in this is the same kind of binder that is in most water stones. General purpose Chinese water stones, which is probably also true considering where this came from. So we're gonna put some lube on that. We're gonna find the angle, because that's what this is about, right? It's finding the angle and sharpening using the right technique, and I know it's soaking up water, but I know that the stone has got a lot of water in it. Stand by a minute. What I've done is I've wrapped a king waterstone stand in that towel. And so what I'm going to do, it's slipping a bit. I don't know if this will fix it or help it or not. What I'm going to do is let that base sit like it is. And we're just going to sharpen this knife, or attempt to sharpen this knife. And I'm getting an awful lot of grip particles coming off of this stone. Probably into the edge of this stone. So this is an incredibly cheap piece of crap. Understand that. And I'm doing everything I can to need one of these. Everything that I can to keep this stone hydrated with water, or in this case soap and water. It doesn't want to do it. I could switch to oil, but I honestly don't believe I would do any better if I did. is instead of using alternating strokes, I'm going to try to bring a burr up on one side, and that is going to be from constant honing, or sharpening rather, on one side at a time. This is basic technique. Yeah, it sounds horrible that hitting this with no lube, right? This thing might require soaking for like 24 hours. But it's definitely a water stone. A really sucky water stone, by the way. And I've got a burr on. I've got a burr. I want to go just a little bit longer. Alright, you check for that burr again. Yeah. So, let's try. What I'm going to do, because I know that this is a water stone, and that is kicking up a lot of particles, I'm going to rinse that stone off and try to minimize that. Maybe the stone will cut better. Look for that burr. There it is. Beautiful. Alright, I have a burr. So let's move to this stone now, this side now. I'm going to do it lightly, much lighter. Lovely. It's lightly shaving. So to remove a burr, you want to use light alternating strokes. That's one way to do it. So very light, so that you're not recreating a burr. You don't want to create a new burr. See, I still got the burr on that side. Beautiful. Alright. Now what we're going to do is what we would always do with any other stone, with any other knife. We're going to strop. Alright. You remember how this cut before? Alright. Now this has been a long video, and if you watch to the end, then hopefully you've learned something. That is the cheapest junky stone I ever used. And it did require that I play around with basic technique. But everything that I did there is basic technique that I've taught on this channel. Okay? It's beginner technique that I'm trying to teach you. If you're having trouble getting an edge on a knife, it's probably not your stone. It's your technique. You're not holding a consistent angle, or maybe the stone needs, instead of, one of the things is if you get in trouble and you get a knife and you can't get an edge on it, always go back to the basic burr method, which is hone on one side of the blade until you get a burr all along the other side of the apex of that edge. Then flip it over and hone on that side until you get a burr all along the edge on the other side. Then move to alternating strokes with light pressure back and forth to break that burr off. Okay? And it's not your stone. Now, having said that, this will go in the garbage because it's junk. And I'm never going to use the piece of junk again. I'm just not. This was to prove a point. Most of the stones that you have, that the people I'm talking to have, if you've got a stone laying around, it's a halfway decent stone. It's not a Dollar Tree special, okay? Whatever it is, it's probably a halfway decent stone. As you progress in sharpening, you're going to find that the way an edge feels under your hand as you cut with it, it's might make a difference in your enjoyment of using the knife. And that's where you get into more refinement of the edge and move from sharpening to honing with finer stones. And that could be just jumping to like a soft arc, or a 3,000 grit water stone or something like that. Or it could be on up to a black Arkansas or an 8,000 water stone, 6,000. But, sharpening is a rabbit hole. And you're going to crawl down in it if you stay with it, because you're going to develop preferences and stuff like that. But to learn basic sharpening technique, you don't need anything fancy, just good technique. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.